Hi, it's Wave, and we all know about the bullet journal. It's been around for years. We see it all the time on YouTube, Instagram, and all that. And I thought originally it was kind of dumb because I never saw the point of why you want to decorate a bullet journal and all that. I didn't know the story behind it or what it actually was. So I decided to give it a go to see if it would work for me or not, because my productivity was pretty bad and I needed something to change. So I thought, hey, why not? So the original creator is Carol Ryder. He's the one that created the whole bullet journal system, and he has his own bullet journal books on top of that website and a YouTube channel. I'll link it down below. And he has ADHD, which was interesting because I had no idea who he was. And when he explained that he had that condition, he also said that he created a system to help him get around his everyday life, especially for work, just to keep him focused and not distracted easily. Long story short, he offered it to his friend or coworker or somebody, and they told him that his system was brilliant, so he started to go forward, and now it exists today. So he said for bullet journaling, all you need is a journal and a pen. So what I did was I had an old journal that was completely lined. I had already pre-existing designs on it, and I had a pen. Usually in the whole Buju community, it's always a dotted notebook or rarely a graph one. So since I didn't have that or money to get it, I decided to use what I had. And so this is how I planned it. The way I went about this was the first 6 months I was going to follow strictly his method, and then after that I'll change anything if I need to or whatnot. Because my library had a huge waiting list for the book, I didn't have access to it in the ebook version or the audiobook version, but since he had his website, I just went through that. And I'll get into more on that later, but mainly he consists of a few things: the year at a glance, the future log, the monthly log, the index, the daily log, the rapid logging, and the migration, which is basically 6 simple things. And he explains more about it in his video, which that's the one I actually use to set up my journal. So mine looked a little bit different from his because it was whole lined and not the dotted as we usually see. So the first 6 months of using it, I noticed by like the 4th or 5th month, I was really hating it because I didn't use majority of the stuff, like the future log and the whole year at a glance. It didn't make sense to me, and I never referenced back to it. So that was an issue. On top of that, since I didn't know how many pages I was going to need, because my task list was so long for each day that I worried that I wasn't going to be able to use the journal for the whole entire year. So what I ended up doing was 2 sections in a horizontal line versus writing down a whole task long list. So I tried that and it kind of helped a bit. And then once the 6th month came in, I noticed that majority of the pages were left unwritten. So I was kind of happy about that. During the 5th or 6th month, that's when the wait list was out. So I started to read the ebook, and it left me with more questions than answers. So basically I skimmed through it just to see the visuals, and then I went back and listened to an audio version just to go through it faster for me. I was using the bullet journal method for school because I was always behind or like stressing out, so that was the purpose of the journal, was to keep me on track. It did serve a bit of a good purpose for it. Another issue I was having was that a lot of the stuff that I've written was basically repetitive stuff, but I still needed to check off because I would forget about it. Things like doing my laundry, doing challenges, getting through audiobooks, just remember to keep track of it and all that. So once he mentioned the book about using it however way you wanted to, adjusting it, making spreads that serve your needs, like building projects, a vacation, or putting down like a medicine tracking or even habit tracking. So because he said that, I decided the next 6 months to work around to my schedule. Things that were repetitive, I use it for habit tracking. So this is like one of my six-month experiment for the end. Something like this. It was good, but at the same time it wasn't, and I'll get to that later. When I finished the year of bullet journaling, I had mixed feelings about it, but going back through the pages, I realized I actually checked off a lot of stuff throughout the year, even though some things I kept like migrating over and over. There was a lot of good to it, and also there was a lot of bad as well. So the good was that I actually like checking things off. I didn't know I was the type of person that felt competitive of wanting to check off all the marks, or just felt satisfied knowing that I got the job done. So that was a good thing. I liked how flexible it was, that any spread can just be dedicated to whatever you want. There's no pre-planning or pre-designs in the notebook, other than depending on which notebook you get. That depends on like your resources and all that. So I like especially the habit tracking aspect, where the stuff that I constantly repeat over and over, I just put in the tracking, and I didn't have to worry about writing it over and over. I like to see my overall monthly review of like how well I did and all that, because I can never tell how I'm doing well unless I look back at it later. And also it kept me motivated to keep going and just like highlighting the little box that I made. Another good aspect about doing the bullet journal is that brain dumping everything to a journal and not less in my head actually got rid of the overwhelmness I was always feeling, and not forgetting of what I need to do, especially when daily life gets in the way, or my dog decides to puke randomly on one morning and then it dismisses my whole entire schedule. And it just kept me track of what I need to get done for the day. That was so helpful for me. Now for the bad things. There's quite a lot actually. I don't like following his method for the future log, monthly log, and the yearly glance, because like I said, I don't use them. They have no purpose for me, and I felt that because I never looked back at it and I didn't know exactly how to use it, because it just didn't make sense to me, it mainly felt like I was just wasting pages, and that kind of gave me a little anxiety when I first set up the journal. I wasn't sure that it's like, was I gonna get through or not. I did finish the journal with 30 pages left, but that's because I was cutting down instead of doing the vertical and the horizontal like I mentioned before. So if I would have done the whole vertical, it probably would have been fully completed and I'll have to get another journal, which I don't like that. I like to have one journal just for the year, not have multiple journals, because what happens is when one gets filled up and then you have like a third or half filled up, it feels like empty pages are wasted and I don't know what to do with it. I didn't like also how when he was explaining the whole bullet journal for his website, it was very unclear, so that's why I had to read the book, which I ended up listening to in the end, because I didn't know what habit tracking was, or if it was there, it wasn't explained well enough to where I could understand it and how I could adapt to it. I didn't look at any of the community stuff and all that. I just wanted to focus on his method strictly, because what I came to find out was his method has nothing to do with artsy or crafts. It's just basically blank and white, just get your tasks done for the day and just move on to the next. He also does journaling, which I didn't do at all. Thought that'd be wasting more pages as well, because as I said, I don't know how one bullet journal can last for me. That was the issue. For the monthly log, I didn't like how it was set up in the beginning, but what I did was for the 6 month was actually put the monthly log before I started the actual month, just to give me an overview of the things I want to get done and basically my goals for the month to get done. And that actually worked, but having a writer's method, it just didn't work at all. Now this is a con, but this is mostly a me thing and not his method, because as he says, like, you can use any journal and it'll work for you. I realized going into this in the 4th or 5th month, I think I had the realization, was that line journals are not for me because it left me restricted, and because I have pre-designed stuff, when I tried doing the rolling weekly, it did not work out well. Another con about his method, for me, it was that there was no reminders or alert systems because this is just a physical thing. Something like for appointments to alert me that I need to get out a certain time or something like that. This was not helpful at all. I actually needed a reminder on an app because since I get sidetracked a lot or things get busy, I overestimate on what I'm working on when I get heavily deep focus, it's really helpful to have an alert system. And for the journal, it can't do that. If you're like me who has the issue, just have an app that can remind you because this will not do it. Rapid logging I didn't do either because I felt like it was just repeating and then trying to organize. It didn't make any sense when I have a daily log and that can just migrate to the next day. Another con thing about this is that if you were to follow his system, there is no creativity. Or things like for me, since I'm a visual person, I need to have something highlighted, especially for the day and the important things I need to get done. Because since I write so many things that I want to get done for the day or just need to get done, I tend to forget which is like the most prioritized. Now you can do the whole check mark thing or what it was, a star to signal with his keys, but for me it just kind of blended in with everything else. So having something highlighted was actually just it was just easy to pinpoint it fast. Will I bullet journal again? Yes, but I will change a lot of things about it from what I've learned and what I'm going to be adding to my next bullet journal, which I'm currently using, and it's the A6 journal. Mine is a lined notebook. I don't like lined, like I said, but it's what I currently have. Another thing to mention, depending on what type of person you are when it comes to notebooks, there's things like the Hobonichi, the grid, the dotted, or a simple line book. If you're interested in like the more complex things like the grid or line or even the Hobonichi, it's gonna cost you. Or depending what your budget range is, that can also be a thing, especially if you're like to do artsy stuff and all that. But the drawback to it is like if you know what type of journal that suits you, it can be difficult if wherever you live at, like your closest Dollar Tree or a grocery store doesn't have it. That's the drawback to it. Like I found some bullet journals actually at Ross, but that just came in recently, whereas like a year or two ago they never had it. All they had was simple line journals and nothing else. I will have to experiment with dotted journals in the future, but I'm just sticking with what I have and just work with it. For my current A6 bullet journal, I will be adding more trackers because I found that it cuts down of cold writing and I can just easily stamp it with a highlighter or a marker, just keep track of the days and how many times I did it. I really like the overview and see how my overall progress has been, especially for YouTube challenges that I like to do. It's just really good just to dot it and just move on. The bullet journal has been a great productivity game changer for me, and I'm really thankful that he created that. I'm just not sure if I have ADHD or not, but if you are, give this a shot and stay tuned in the future for my A6 journal review. I'll have that posted somewhere near the end of December of this year or somewhere in the new year for 2024. In the meantime, take care of yourselves and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!